You know, until Donald Trump took office, I don't think I ever once in my entire life had the thought, gee, I wish I had as much free time as the President of the United States. But now I kind of wish that I did have as much free time as President of the United States Donald Trump seems to have anyway. If I had that much free time, apparently I could feel at liberty to devote my energies and my focus to all kinds of petty, meaningless bullshit. And what a wonderful life that would be for me. Not necessarily for anybody I happened to interact with, but for me, it would probably be just kind of cool and chill and a lot of fun. For example, on Sunday, Donald Trump took to his knockoff version of Twitter, Truth Social, and he wrote this. Nobody likes a bad picture or painting of themselves, but the one in Colorado, in the state capitol, put up by the governor along with other presidents, was purposefully distorted to a level that even I, perhaps, have never seen before. I just want to pause and remind you, this is the current president of the United States posting this on social media, in the midst of war and destruction all over the world, in the midst of economic uncertainty here at home, in the midst of all sorts of crises, many of which are of his own making, some of which are completely imaginary, but he continues to talk about them. But lots of real stuff going on in the world, too, that you would think the president might be better served paying attention to, although maybe not given who the president is. But this is what the president of the United States has chosen to share with the American people on a Sunday evening here in the year 2025. The artist also did President Obama, and he looks wonderful. But the one on me is truly the worst. She must have lost her talent as she got older. In any event, I would much prefer not having a picture than having this one, but many people from Colorado have called and written to complain. In fact, they are actually angry about it. I am speaking on their behalf to the radical left Governor Jared Polis, who is extremely weak on crime, in particular with respect to Tren de Aragua, which practically took over Aurora. Don't worry, we saved it. To take it down, Jared should be ashamed of himself. Teensy-weensy little fact check before we go any further. The gang Tren de Aragua did not practically take over Aurora. Nothing even remotely close to that ever actually happened. It's just like what I said a minute ago. Trump, he is imagining a problem and then imagining that he fixed it so he can take credit for it. What a great president Donald Trump is. He took care of that terrible problem that we all heard about of Tren de Aragua practically taking over the entire city of Aurora, Colorado. It's all taken care of now. Don't worry. Trump fixed it. But anyway, he's complaining about the quality of his portrait in the Colorado state capitol. And he's blaming the artist who painted it. And he's blaming the governor, the radical left governor of the state, Jared Polis. You know who's actually responsible for that portrait hanging there? I mean, if you want to blame the art, if you don't like the picture, you don't like the picture. Go ahead, blame the artist, right? But he's blaming the governor. You know who's actually responsible for that Trump portrait being there? You're going to love this.
Lawmakers and community members celebrated the unveiling of President Donald J. Trump's portrait on Thursday. The space for our 45th president was empty for some time and went unnoticed until pranksters put a portrait of Russian President Vladimir Putin in its place. Former Senate President Kevin Grantham says with history, not politics in mind, he took it upon himself to raise the funds.
Within less than 36 hours, 216 contributions came in, totaling over the $10,000 necessary to put this portrait in its place.
His mission, it turns out, was one with bipartisan support.
I mean, whatever happened to saying thank you, Donald? Your vice president is big into that. Your vice president, J.D. Vance, if you remember who he is, if you've even spoken to him in the last few weeks, he's really big into saying thank you. He wants people to be appreciative and grateful when others do favors for them and do nice things for them, like hang portraits of them in their state's Capitol building. Maybe just say thank you. Not the radical left governor of the state, but members of your own party, your own Republican Party, took the initiative to get your portrait and hang it up. And I love the excuse of, Well, people are calling and writing letters and complaining about it, so I, as the president, felt the need to speak out about it. How many people do you think are calling and writing the White House right now to complain about what Elon Musk is doing to the federal government? How many people do you think are calling and writing the White House, and also their members of Congress and their senators, etc., and complaining about the gutting of the federal government, the denial of federal benefits, the attempted destruction of the Department of Education, the attempted destruction of USAID, and all of the other federal departments that have been destabilized and hobbled by Donald Trump's efforts? How many people do you think have called or written to the White House to say, don't fuck with our Social Security, or keep your hands off Medicaid and Medicare? But these are the people, if they even exist, the people who have written Trump to complain about his portrait. They're the ones that he felt the need to come out publicly and speak up and champion their cause. The cause of his rotten portrait in Colorado that nobody outside of Colorado even knew about until he said this shit. And let's just look at that portrait again. Can we get another look at this portrait? This is the portrait of Donald Trump that he's complaining about. He doesn't like this portrait hanging in the Colorado state capitol. And all I have to say to that is, Donald, have you looked at yourself lately? And I'm not trying to I'm not having a go at anybody for their personal appearance. I think that's out of bounds. I'm not making fun of Trump because of the way he looks. I'm just saying, if Donald Trump looked in the mirror and had any shred of objectivity as far as his appearance, and then he looked from his own reflection of how he really looks to that portrait hanging in Colorado's state capitol, wouldn't you have to consider the portrait an improvement? I mean, it certainly could have been a lot worse. I feel like the artist, fading talent with age or not, did you a real favor, Donald. Not only did the Republicans who led the fundraising efforts to get that portrait made and hung in the first place try to do you a favor by doing the whole thing in the first place, the artist, I think, was really trying hard to do you a favor painting that portrait. Maybe it's not the most accurate likeness of you, Donald Trump, that it could have been, but that's not a bad thing in this case. Look at yourself, look at that portrait, or better yet, look at some other photographs of you, Donald. Not other paintings, and not AI images either that your cultists have made to make you look like fucking Rocky Balboa or like you're some kind of fucking bodybuilder. So, I mean, look at actual photographs of you. Look at this picture. This is a real picture of you, Donald. A real picture. Okay, now let's go back to the portrait. Back to that picture. Do you see how much worse this could have been? How about this one? This is an official portrait that you released prior to your inauguration. Look at how ridiculous this is. This portrait is so ridiculous. I already made an entire video about this a couple of months ago when it first came out. It is one of the most absurd, one of the most hilarious, unintentionally hilarious, which makes it even more hilarious, portraits of a president, of any public figure I have ever seen. You actually released this picture, and you and your cultists seem to genuinely believe that this is a cool, badass picture. That when people look at this picture of you, it inspires respect and awe. And they look at you and they think, oh man, we're in good hands. Clearly, the guy who released this as an official portrait, as the president, is the man to lead us, right? That's who you are. That's the picture that you like of yourself. This, again, is the picture in Colorado that you dislike so much that you have called for it to be removed. You thin-skinned, soft little freak. You're the president of the United States. And here you are publicly whining because somebody put up a painting of you in a state capitol that you don't think is flattering enough. You don't think it looks good. You want the painting to make you look good. You're the president. Why doesn't the painting make you... Why doesn't it make you look the way you may? You know what? Maybe that's the problem. You look at yourself in the mirror, Donald, and you see yourself like those Rocky Balboa-looking AI pictures, don't you? That's how you think you look. Because your vanity has so completely warped your perception that when you're like Homer Simpson in that episode of The Simpsons when he looks at himself in the mirror and he's all buff and his fucking titties are bouncing up and down and his biceps are bulging. That you look in the mirror and that's what you see. So then you see that portrait and you think, oh man, I look a lot better than that. You don't. I'm telling you, you don't. You look like shit. If you're coming at this from a place of vanity, which you clearly are, which you always are, no matter what the subject happens to be, if you're coming at this from a place of vanity, from a place of ego, and you're saying that portrait doesn't look good enough, it doesn't look anything like me, it's distorted, you're going to need to take another look at it, Donald. Because I'm telling you, that artist was trying to do you a favor. You know, it's like, you ever get I don't even know why I'm asking this. I was going to say, you ever get like a sweater from your grandma for Christmas? That would require that someone in your family would have loved you at one point and given you a gift of love at some point in your life. But clearly, genuine love has never touched you in any way, or else you wouldn't be who you are. But let's just pretend, right? Normal people have memories like a relative or a friend or somebody giving them like a well-meaning gift for their birthday or for a holiday, and maybe it's like an ugly sweater, and you look at it and you think, I would never wear this. But you say thank you. You say, I really appreciate, thank you so much, right? And maybe you go through the trouble of like the next time you know you're going to see them, you wear it just so they can see you wearing it. And maybe they'll think, oh, he really does like it. You hate it. You hate the sweater. You're never, ever, ever going to wear it. But you let them think you like it and you thank them for it out of gratitude, out of courtesy, out of kindness, because they did a kindness to you. It's the thought that counts. They tried to do something nice for you. And so you, as an emotionally healthy human being, you show gratitude back to them and you say, thank you very much for this. I really appreciate it. That's what they tried to do for you, you fucking dipshit. And not only should you be grateful for it because it's just a nice thing to do for you, a person who in no way deserves having nice things done for them ever because you are the worst. But it's not even a bad portrait when compared to how you actually look. It's a massive improvement. But you know what? Even though I do think that portrait is a big improvement over your actual appearance, it's not my favorite picture of you. My favorite picture of you is this one. Yeah, and I know you kind of like this one too, because this is the one that you used as the inspiration for that ridiculous official portrait that you released that I showed a few minutes ago. You're trying to recreate it. You're trying to recapture the magic of this one. But I like this one, not because you look good in it, because you don't. Again, an accurate picture of you would preclude you looking good because you don't look good. But I still like this picture, not for how you look, but for the story it tells, for what it represents. Because there you are, Donald, and look what you're doing. You're trying to look hard. You're trying to look tough. You're trying to look defiant. But here's what I really love about that photo, Donald. As hard as you try to look like something else, whenever anybody sees that picture, they know that's your mugshot, which means no matter how hard you try to put on a different face, you can't help but look like exactly what you are.